Overall, nice win. I thought we did some things well, but I also thought in the same breath we did some things that was not so good and not appreciative. Our principles, we got out rebounded 35-30. I know that can kind of be deceiving with these numbers because we did shoot 64%, but we did give up 12 offensive rebounds, which is far too many. So um, obviously our schedule is brutal, and so this is an opportunity for us to feel good about ourselves. And, I thought Corey was phenomenal. We've been emphasizing him getting up the floor and not playing at a snail's pace and not having to play 5-on-5 all the time. Or as much as he need to. Gage made some significant plays, and Slack has we inserted him into the lineup. The problem is with me as a coach is we have 12 new guys, so I don't know these dudes, right? And one day once somebody practices well, and then he have another good practice, and then the next 2 days he stink it up, and now this guy comes. So it's almost like you're playing musical chairs with, finding out who you can and can't trust and can and can't depend on in certain situations. So we're still kind of like processing those situations, and such is life. But we'll figure that out. But we just demand that each player that goes in there play as hard as he possibly can.
With Takeo getting the start today, is that like a product of what we were just talking about? Or
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like he's been earning it. Now, he ain't shoot it well, but he's the anchor. Like, he's the voice, right? Like, this generation of kids, when they play basketball, they don't talk a lot. It's almost like they're playing with tape over their mouth, right? And so it's really difficult to play. And, we didn't have a lot of people here, obviously, due to the holidays. So when the gym is not as full, I should be able to hear you crystal clear because this thing is going to pack out in a few months, right? And so now, if I can't hear you when no one's in here, then how can I hear you when champagne and the band and the loudspeaker and everybody screaming, dancing, stepping, and all this type stuff? So, that's what I'm trying to tell them, for them to prepare for what's around the corner. But at the end of the day, young people going to be young people, right? And, sometimes people learn from you telling them, and then sometimes people learn from trial by error, right? It's almost like, during these Thanksgiving times, Mama ain't never want you in her kitchen when she was cooking and preparing. And if you went in there, that stove is hot. She'll tell you, don't touch that stove. And some people still got to put their hand over that burner. And then when you get burnt, Mama just said, I told you so, now get out. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of those situations, man, as it relates and pertains to basketball. But overall, a nice victory.
And just speaking on getting those guys prepared for like the crowds, the band, the cheerleaders. We have a pretty good test next week coming up with A&T. People might pack out for that game.
Right.
How does this game get you guys prepared for that one, and how does that game get you prepared coming up into a conference play? We're still a while away from it, but
when you have so many moving pieces, the way we have, and here's the thing about the NIL that people don't understand, and I'm kind of trying to educate our fan base right now because this thing has changed so much and it moves so fast that people really don't understand. We're not, due to the fact that, with this NIL, we didn't opt in. You got a portal full of kids that's just sitting there that's waiting on people to offer them money. So not even back in the day, a couple of years ago, you would call a kid when you were recruiting him. But you can't even get that kid on the phone now because all of them have representation. So their representation is the buffer between you and the kid, right? So you don't even get on the phone with the kid until you tell that representation or that agent or handler, whatever the term you want to use, how much you're offering. And if you're offering nothing, they say they'll get back with you. So with that said, we don't even assemble a team until after June. We really don't even begin recruiting now until June, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we used to have a full-fledged roster. These kids here in summer school, we could get them up, get them, their bodies needed so much work, so we would add 10 pounds to them, do a good strength and conditioning program that familiarize themselves with, our system, our vernacular, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now we're pretty much finalizing recruiting in July, right? Now we're getting them in school. So now what you're seeing the first 2 months is just like things that traditionally has been rectified in the first 2 months of summer session, where they had those 8-week spans and like they went home and came back and now they know what to expect. Well, now they still kind of lost in what we're doing. So, that's just the nature of this NIL thing, and we'll figure it out. So now we got to spend a lot more time, and like our 1 days have to become 2. We got to knock it out in practice and film. So to answer your question, I know it's cliche, but we're just focused on today. right? Because we're not even good enough to look around that corner, because it's like we got to master the basic fundamentals and principles of what we're asked to do today before we're ready to accept and embrace those challenges that we are all so familiar with as a program.
Gotcha. And with that being said, with that, your day, MLK Day, does that like kind of push that back on like where your expectations are for this team?
Yeah, it might be JFK Day. When is JFK Day? It used to be MLK. Might be JFK now. So we'll figure that out, man. But that was like with the team that has been here through both semesters of summer, and now they got their feet wet. And that MLK was always the baseline in the litmus test to say, the benchmark to say, okay, now we got it now. Now it looked like it may be postponed a little bit, because people are still trying to figure it out, take into consideration some injuries and guys that we're relying on that really haven't been out here, right? And so, look, it's the crowd me a river, right? My thing is, whoever's ready, I'm coaching, and that's who we're inserting, and so we're just going to try to get this thing turned, and so it's just a daily grind, and we'll be prepared for it.
All right. Any closing statements?
Yeah, I hope everyone had a happy and safe holidays, and send a plate if you need to.